Hi and welcome back to the channel We Don't Know Cars. My name's Trey and today we're at my storage unit. Don't mind the mess because it's a disaster. Here to get a little special project for us. First real kind of in-depth project we're going to have on the channel. Let's take a look at it. This has been in the family for I think going on what, 10 years now it's been with us. So this one's a really special project to both me and my brother who's behind the camera. Here we are. So this is a 2001 Suzuki DRZ 400. It's that dual sport, you know, on and off road bike. You know, they came stock with turn signals and mirrors and everything. So it's a full, you know, on and off road package. They're really capable bikes, and this poor guy has just been through it. It is, and I ain't kidding you. It's rough. I'm sorry, or you should be sorry, Nick. You want to tell him? You want to tell him how many times I've replaced the handlebars on this bike?
I don't want to talk about it.
No, we don't want to talk about it. That's about right. So this has been sitting around. I think you had it. So it's been off the road for probably almost what, 4 years?
Yeah.
It hasn't been on the trail in 4 years or so, almost pushing 4 years. We've probably had the bike longer than 10 years, haven't we? When did we start?
It was my bike when I was 15, 14.
Yeah, so a little over 10 years.
11 years?
Yeah, 11 years or so we've had it. And you know, it's a great, dependable, you know, really torquey bike, and it's just down on its luck. So we're gonna end up ripping the engine out of this guy. We're gonna do a full engine teardown and see what's really wrong. This thing leaks everything. We don't even know. Sometimes it just leaks fluid that doesn't even exist. You're like, where did purple fluid come from, you know? Nobody knows. And honestly, we've tried a bunch of stuff. Nick did a bunch of work to it, rebuilt the carb, you know, ended up doing, you know, brakes, put new tires and everything, and we started to go through it, and then you never get it to run quite right. And then it just started leaking, literally everywhere and everything. So right now the bike's completely empty of everything. It's just been sitting in my storage unit for like, I don't know, 6 months or so now. But yeah, well, anyways, we're gonna get it home and tear into it, and that's what this is gonna be. I don't know, it'll probably just be ripping the bike apart for the first episode, probably a couple episodes. So if you guys end up enjoying it, be sure to like, subscribe, and I guess we'll see where this project leads us. Well, here we are, getting the storage unit shut up, and there she is, sitting in the bed of the truck. Time to get some long-awaited attention. Bringing a few things with us. And yeah, we'll tear into her. It should be a blast, honestly. It's a sweet bike, just down on its luck. Oh yeah, I can't wait to see it run and get on the trail again. Alrighty, so we've got the bike back at the house in the garage. Got a little handy dandy cart, so everything I take apart can just go right over there. Yeah, so I'll flip it around here and show you guys kind of what we're working with here. Again, it's a 2001 DRZ 400. Really solid bike. I mean, had a lot of good miles on it. It was my brother's bike originally when we started riding, say 11 years ago or so. And she's been through it. I'll tell you that much. She has been through it. But yeah, I'll go ahead and flip it around here. So, I mean, as you can see, got all the plastics off and everything because we were kind of in the middle of this process. It's got new tires on it. Suspension probably needs done. I'm not worried about that right now. Big old whammy on the tank there. It's a metal tank, of course, being that dual purpose street bike. We'll see if we can't fix that. If not, I'll have to find a new one because I do like the metal tank actually. Go through, engine is here. We changed the oil, that's where the filter goes. We had changed the oil on this guy and noticed there was quite a bit of metal in it. So these are magnesium alloy block, and from what I could tell, and I may be wrong, if you guys know something more about this engine, I'm pretty sure though that the pistons are some sort of aluminum alloy or something as well. So they're lighter. So a lot of metal out of the engine when we did the oil change. It is at this point where I correct myself. on one of the many things I'm bound to be incorrect about when filming this video. There was no metal in the oil, I do not believe. I believe what was in the oil was in fact clutch material. Being this bike is a wet clutch, I think that's probably what it is. My brother has a bit of a history of being hard on the clutch, and I imagine that is what it is. This bike didn't particularly receive regular oil changes at the proper intervals, so an excess of clutch material in the oil is very much possible. So looking back at it now, I do believe that's what was the problem, and there was realistically no need to tear into the engine, but we do it anyways. So we're not sure if we're dealing with, something happened, in the top end or the bottom end, maybe, and because it's leaking a lot, gas is getting right past the rings. So we're not sure, maybe there's, the rings just need done. I mean, there's no telling at this point. So we're just gonna rip the whole bike out of the engine and just tear it apart top to bottom and see if we can see anything that's jumping out to us as an immediate issue. Overall, the bike's pretty stock, except for the exhaust and a few of the ghetto things we've had to do over the years, like this back piece of the subframe's missing because my brother was trying to jump and accelerated at the incorrect moment and threw this thing up in the air, dragged his ass and bent that. Other than that, and we put hand guards on it. It doesn't have a key anymore. My brother had lost the key, so we just rigged this guy up. Yeah, so there's the bike. There's a little bit of information on it. Again, we've owned it for a while now. My dad traded a Pontiac Fiero for it and some cash. We got it with 200 miles on it from a guy who had bought it when it was brand new and just never rode it. So we are technically the second owners of this bike. And I say we, you'll hear it's my brother's, you'll hear it's mine, because technically it is my bike. I bought this from my brother, I don't know, 8 months ago or so. And I just was sitting on it because he was going to get rid of it for scrap. And I said, well, man, I'll just give you 400 bucks for it then, because it's not going to be worth anything in scrap. So I got it from him for 400 bucks, which is probably too much for the condition it's in, honestly. But yeah, we'll put some work into it and some love into it and see what we can't do. Now that I own it, I have full license to actually do whatever I want to it. All right, got the seat off, the tank off. There's some gas in the tank still, so it's draining over there into a gas jug. Not all over the floor, surprisingly. Crazy, I know. So now I'm gonna go ahead and get in here and get these radiators out of here, because this bike actually has a full cooling system, being dual purpose. It's not just like, it's got little electric fans on it too and everything. Pretty neat. Some of them are just air cooled or whatever. Let's see here. That ought to work. I think I'm gonna get this out of the way real quick, because that's in my way. I need that 8 again. Most of the stuff on this bike is an 8mm, just so y'all know. Most of it, anyways. This will just give us some more space to work with. This bike's as old as I am, so that's neat, Going on its 23rd year, I do believe. I do believe I am correct. Honestly, it's a cool bike. I'm a Honda guy myself. I've been riding Honda since my second ever bike. My first bike was a little Yamaha YZ80 two-stroke, and I hated it because I had never ridden a dirt bike before. And a two-stroke, you gotta be on it all the time. It's just how it is. You gotta be balls to the walls 24/7. And honestly, learning on a 2-stroke was just not it for me. A little more, I don't know, I'm a little more cautious than most, you know? So it was too much. So once that one actually kind of took a shit, here's a truck. Yeah, once that YZ80 took a shit on us out on a ride, we had owned it previously, just no one was riding it. I started riding a little XR 100 from the 90s, and that thing was a blast. I absolutely loved that bike. Got to the point with that bike where we would, you know, lay it all the way down and drag the handlebars on the ground taking corners. And that was when Dad knew that it was too small for us. So I got moved up to an XR 200, and my brother had gotten us pretty close to that same time, a little beforehand. Being my brother was a bit older, a bit bigger of a guy. So he was riding this. My dad was riding I don't know what the hell was he riding when we actually like really got into it at that point. I think he was on a KTM for a little while. Then he ended up on a Husqvarna 450 something or other. That bike was badass for sure. But yeah, I rode my XR 200 until we were out in the middle of a ride and the tank cracked, and we barely limped that thing back to the truck. Went to the dealership, Honda dealership in town, and got my my CFR, or what I get? Goddamn, my Honda CRF, my Honda CRF 450X Enduro, which was a blast, and I rode for years. And I even I broke my back on that bike, and yeah, and that was in goddamn, what was it? 2016. It was. No, it was 2018 then that I broke my back on that bike. I don't have that bike anymore. You guys saw that video on the channel where I did an oil change on that bike. And that was it. I rode it for a little bit, but it was time to let it go. I had some other things that I needed to take care of more than keeping that bike around. Hard decision, but it needed to happen. So I made that decision, as hard as it was. So now I've got this, and this one has been with us for a long time, and I've always enjoyed this bike. Even though I'm really a Honda guy at heart, I've had a lot of fun on this bike too. So this was a better, a little more affordable option, and now I'm finally at the point where I have some extra money to pour into it and make a video for you guys. And yeah, so there's some history for you on us, and riding really has become, you know, a big part of my life. Riding dirt bikes, and it's a blast. If you've never done it, definitely recommend giving it a shot, because it is so much fun. It's such a oddly like rewarding sport. Just gonna break these rubber lines that have been attached to this bike since, you know, 2000. Yep, come on. There we go. Cool. And there's this little sensor here. Okay, cool. It's got a plug right here, so I'll just to cut a lot of these zip ties, unfortunately. There we go. So this guy just unplugs right up here. Try not to break any of these wires. Make more work for ourselves. There we go. There's one rad off. Just get it out of the way. Yeah, so I guess I'll do the same on the other side here, guys. And then see what I need to do. I know I'll get the exhaust off too. I know I've done that. Get the engine mounts. And then we will see about pulling this thing out of here. It's probably going to be a major pain in the ass, but we're going to give it a shot. Oh boy. Alrighty, making some progress. Both rads are off. I got the exhaust off. It's all pretty easy. A couple Allen wrenches, 10, 12 millimeter bolts, and a couple 8s. Phillips head on the clamps. So these guys are off. Got some coolant in it. Coolant was good, so I don't think there's any like head gasket issues or anything. Again, I didn't really see anything that would indicate that issue from the get-go. Definitely just a lot of metal came out of the oil. I'm hoping it's top end stuff and not bottom end stuff, but you know, who knows. So next I'll do is get some of these levers off and just out of the way, mainly on that side. I think I'm gonna try to push the bike out. I'm gonna get the engine out that way. I think that's gonna be the better way to do it. I think I have a little bit more space over there. But yeah, I'll get the mounts off, and I gotta get the carburetor out of there as well. And that is a fight every freaking time. It's mainly because this stupid airbox setup is just, it's tight. You know, that's why I don't like small engine stuff, because it's just a pain in the ass to work with. But yeah, I'll do that. Get some of these oil lines out of my way and shit. Shifter guy, and I'll have to get all this out of here, undo that, which should be a blast as well. Yeah, ready? Here we go again. Carburetor is out. I disconnected the clutch lever cable there, and I ran it back up. It's hanging over there out of the way, and I didn't want to take this guy out if I didn't have to, so I wasn't going to mess up the splines on that one. So I didn't take it out. I just took it out at the bracket and then slid that cable back around, and that might bite me later, but I think that's going to be the better way to do it. I'm still just going through. I'll get this disconnected here and just get that wire moved over there, get this breather here moved away. There's a connection down here that I'm gonna get taken off, so I can move this that way, take the chain guard off, and see where this connection is leading, because I have no idea. So once that's out of the way, then I have some clear room there. Gotta get this computer for this coolie thingy out of the way. Disconnect it. There's 2 bolts. I know this has to do with the electrical stuff. What exactly it is, I don't know. But I'll take that and disconnect it and move it over too. But yeah, we're definitely making some progress. We're getting there. This is what the other side looks like. Of course, our 2 cables for the carburetor. Just make sure you're keeping in mind where all these things go, you know, while you're doing something like this. Yeah, now it's a lot less cluttered. Alrighty, so I got all this wiring disconnected. So there's 2 wires here. This one goes to that guy, which you're supposed to be able to get out, but it's 2 Phillips head screws, and good luck with that. So I just took it out from up here. Goes to that guy in there. That was kind of a pain in the ass, but I got it out. And then this one runs to 2 connectors up here, and then down into there, which I don't honestly know where that is. So I chose to disconnect this one. It connects to the primary computer up there, and then somewhere in the center there. So those 2 will come out with the engine, which is fine. All right, and then went ahead and took the skid plate off the bottom. It's here, just 4 bolts, 1, 2, 3, and then 4 back there. We'll have to take this oil line from the frame off. So that oil does run through this frame. Fill it up top, and it runs, and it goes around and back up. So that's how that cycles that. So we will, I'll tighten that back up. That shouldn't be loose. So we'll tighten that back up, and then we will, ooh, I wonder if that's where that's leaking from, is that line. Oh, that has potential. So we've had a leak, right, that we've been chasing this whole time. And I almost wonder if this line has gone bad, maybe? And this is where it's leaking from. So it doesn't look super happy, really hard. I don't know. That could be it. We'll get this. What we'll do is we'll just disconnect this from the block for now, here. And then once we get it out, then we can see about maybe finding a replacement one for that. You know, just dotting our T's and crossing our I's and whatnot. Making sure we have that right. Yeah, I pulled the drain plug out the bottom over here. You can see the hole, because it'll hit, I think, if I try to take it out there. So next is just gonna be to take these out, 12, 14. And then there's one at the bottom there. That's a 14, I believe. And then this goes all the way through the back to the other side. So that'll be a treat to get off. We also have to knock this off. And I've been looking for the master link on this chain because I think it'll just be easier if I can get the chain out of the way, because we're dealing with some pretty tight clearances. And then up there. And I think that's it. Fingers crossed. Alrighty, so lighting is probably awful. The sun went down, so I just went ahead and closed the garage door. It's getting chilly out there. You know, we're in that in-between right now, between what everyone hopes to be spring and what is still trying to be winter. So, with the bike, we've got this set of mounts done, the one on the bottom done. Still haven't done that one. I'm save that one for last. Now I've got to get to this one, but this has got to come off anyways. You can see I've already knocked this nut loose. Now I'm trying to get the chain off. I had mentioned that I was looking for a master link. Well, apparently that doesn't have one. So I was trying to do some research on there, and I guess you have to have a tool to break one of the rivets, or to a set of rivets, so that you can put like a master link in it if you want it to be easier to get on and off at some point. So there's a tool for it, or you could just go to the store and get some punches and some metal bits and just drill it out and worry about that later. So that's what we're gonna do. You can see right here, I've started cleaning that guy up. I'm gonna punch the center out. I'm just gonna knock one rivet out for now. So I'll just drill that motherfucker out. I'll just drill that thing out, get the chain off and get the sprocket out of here so it's out of the way. Then we can get that, and I think we're ready to go. I just thought I'd give you an update on where I was, and know that this is a pain in the ass. So, that, as expected, I guess. So, I'm gonna go ahead and knock that rivet out and hopefully get this fucking engine out of here tonight. Okay, well, fuck, you know? I don't know what those rivets are made out of, but whatever it is, it's exceptionally hard. I even got, I don't know, does it get much better than hard metal? See it, hard metal. Fucking nothing, junk, fucking junk. I made like the slightest little divot in this little guy right here, just a little tiny baby divot. Yep, fuck that. So I'm gonna just have to get the proper tool for the job. There goes this video being done in any sort of decent time frame. So that's exciting. I'll get it off Amazon, and when that gets here, then I can take the chain off the bike. How obnoxious. Now I know, there's a couple of you, if you watch this far through, you're like, there's a few of these veterans out there that are gonna be laughing when I said I would drill through it, because you're like, yeah, that's not gonna work. I thought for sure I could manage that. I don't know, it took a little tiny bit off, but yeah, those bits won't touch that stuff, so. I don't know, maybe it's possible to drill through it just with better bits. I don't know, I figured hard metal would be good enough, but apparently it needs to be metal that they make fucking tanks with or something. So anyways, I'll order all the right fucking tools and shit, and we'll catch you back here when I've got everything. Alrighty, and welcome back. What was 3 seconds for y'all was 3 days for me, but I finally have this guy here. Just got it off Amazon, and we're gonna try to follow those instructions using this guy here, and try to get one of these links out and take this chain out, and then I can get to working on that, and I think I'm pretty much ready to pull that out at that point. So this guy here, just do a little quick review for y'all, in case you're curious if you guys are doing something similar. And everyone on Amazon seemed to think this was good at least what I read. There were a few that people didn't recommend, and this is one that they did. A little bit more money. I think I spent, I don't know, I'll go back and look and put it in the video. From what I can tell, everything's pretty high quality. Everything's actually like lubed up pretty good. Nothing's too bad. That's got a little bit of flimsiness to it, but overall, everything seems to be really well built. This is hefty, so I'm sure it'll work. So I'm gonna read the instructions carefully and then try to figure that out real quick. Yeah, I guess we'll see how it goes. Okay, let's see here. Hey. Okay, we need this. Okay. We need to get our tool and the TPC 210, that one. And that's gonna go in the tool like that. So we'll slide him in, it clicks in, and then we gotta get it around the chain, which I'm gonna have to move this out of our way real quick. That's fine. Okay, now. Okay, I think that appears to be locked in. Then we insert this guy. Now it says not to use a wrench. So we're gonna use a wrench. So, you know, I'm gonna tighten that first one down a little bit and then find a, I don't know, so I think that's probably a 12 millimeter. But it says don't do this. So if I break it, then it's my fault. So there's that. I just want to make sure this isn't going anywhere real quick. Okay, let's get another. Okay, so 14 mil. Again, they tell you not to use a wrench in the kit, so I'm breaking the rules a little bit here, but I just imagine this is gonna make my life easier in the long run. I think we're good. Oh yeah, I think that did it, guys. Keep going around here to make sure that I got it all the way through, but I think we're golden. That was smooth as butter. Oh yeah, that was beautiful. Perfect. Absolutely beautiful execution. You can see it took the head right off that rivet and just pushed that pin right out. So, I mean, I guess it's really all about leverage, right, and how you're applying it. That would have been not a lot of fun to try to even drill that off and get that through there. So, yeah, that is excellent. 100% would recommend this tool. I'll link it in the description, the Amazon listing I used to get it. I don't have any, anything to get you guys any discounts or anything, unfortunately, but yeah, definitely will link it because that is fantastic. And it's pretty cool too. It does come with a few extra O-rings and stuff in here too. But yeah, no, that's phenomenal. And I may even be just sourcing a new chain for this bike. I'll hold on to it just in case I decide I'm going to reuse it. But yeah, that's awesome. Super smooth. This thing comes in really good. You can see there's no damage to the head of that. So yeah, that was phenomenal. Perfect. The sprocket off the front. There's that sprocket. Maybe note the orientation because there's a smooth end and a flared end. So flare was out, which I'm sure it'll be pretty obvious when we go to put it back together, but just note that. This chain out of here. There's also a washer on the back of that. And it's got a kind of a concave side of it too, so we'll remember that. We'll just put those two together so we don't lose them. Pull this chain on out of here. Awesome. Oh dude, that was so easy. I was dreading that. That was easy. We'll just put it over here and hold on to it in case we do end up reusing it. We'll get a master link for it at that point. That'll make this chain a lot easier to service. Alrighty, so got that long, I don't know what you call this, bolt out. It goes through the rear thing, the swing arm thing, I think it's called that. Anyways, pulled that guy out, almost screwed it up. I think I messed a couple of those threads up. I was trying to beat it out with something soft, but didn't have anything long enough. So I'll have to go in and clean some of those threads up again to get this back through with that nut on the other side. This is a bit of a pain in the ass, and I would almost recommend taking this off first. So do it a little bit differently than I'm doing it here if you guys go to pull this particular engine, because once this guy came out, with only the one engine mount left, the engine dropped a solid half an inch maybe. So it all kind of leaned backwards, being all the weights in the gears in the back of this thing. So maybe take this out first while everything's super well supported so that it doesn't drop on you and it's a pain in the ass to get out. But there it is, it's out. We'll yeet it over there. Got this thing up in the air. I think this is gonna be the best approach. Now I'm gonna take this last engine mount out and this thing should be ready to go at that point. So I guess we will, we'll see. I'm just gonna kind of stick them back together. Okay, moment of truth. This will probably kill me, but you know, that's all right. Oh yeah, this thing is gonna be freaking heavy as hell. It's okay though. So I think we're gonna have to go as forward as we can with it. Yeah, there we go. Try not to crush my fingers anywhere. Should be easier said than done. Yep. Okay. Nope. I lied. We missed one. So this is why we double check things. Show y'all. We missed this oil line here, so this isn't gonna come off without us taking that nut off. Let me get that off and catch you guys when I get that one disconnected real quick. Didn't take too long, not a lot of oil in that line. Now I'm gonna grab it from over here. One hand on this guy here, clutch. The other hand up here on whatever the hell this is. Okay. I'm catching these breathers up on the top. Get those guys off real quick. Move the spark plug wire real quick. Try to get that out of the way. I think it's stubborn. Okay, that'll work. Okay, here we go. Oh yeah, this is exactly how I wanted it. I really would rather not have to cut it. Let's see if we can't get a flathead screwdriver on the back of that real quick. There we go. Alrighty, there we go. She's naked now. God dang. Well, that was a little bit of a fight, as you all saw. I'm not even gonna edit any of that out. Yeah, honestly, a little easier than I thought it was gonna be. And it's really not even that heavy, to be honest with you. Well, don't break those. I'm gonna step on them real quick, but yeah, I mean, it's not really that heavy, to be honest. I thought it was gonna be heavier too. It's because what the block's made out of, and supposedly all the internals or the piston and everything are aluminum, but I guess we'll see when we get in there. There it is. Yeah. So here we are. Got the engine out of the bike. Now I'm gonna find the proper Allen key here. And we're gonna start taking it apart from the top down. So this guy's held on with some Allen key head bolts. Looks like they're just really smooth. There's the rubber surface in the head there. Or the valve cover, I guess is what that is, the valve cover. This will be probably a little bit of a fight for us here. Let me see if I can't straddle this thing a little bit. I wish I could have just done this all on the bike from the top, and it's, it might have made it a little easier on me having some place that it was actually secured, but this will be a first kind of telltale if we screwed anything up in the top end. At least from the inside there, the valves looked okay. The exhaust valves, anyways, looked okay. Okay, well, I mean, everything looks okay. Smells like gas, so there's that. Here's the chain there, timing chain. There, the cams look good. There's nothing obviously like super wrong from here anyways, so that's not super duper helpful for us. But yeah, so that's not horrible looking. The real question is, in what order do you take this apart? Because I don't know the answer to that, to be honest. Looks like we'll have to use more Allen keys on the inside here. We can get the chain guard off. For the timing chain, I probably should mark it. Looks like there are timing marks in there. What they go to is a mystery though. Where are the other timing marks at, I guess? Because I don't want to get it totally out of time, I guess. I'm trying to keep track of that. Now, where they go, I see the paint markers. 3, 2, 2. We'll have to look up I'll have to figure out how to time one of these afterwards for sure, because I don't know the answer to that. I'd obviously, if I didn't have to tear it apart, I mean, it ran in time at least, but that's okay. Well, I guess we will just start taking stuff apart and see where we go. Okay, so we're in here. As I was saying, the cams look really good. There's no obvious metal or anything up here. Timing chain is good. I mean, it looks tight, I guess. So, I mean, it's not loose or floppy or anything. But we'll take these off. There's some timing marks there, which I imagine I'll have to use later when I go to figure out how to retime this thing. But I'll start tearing it off from the top and just kind of work our way down here. right here. I'm not sure how you even put tension on this guy. If it operates the same as a vehicle in that sense. I know, I mean, a combustion engine at that point is going to be similar, right? I mean, they're all basically the same principle. But I'm not sure what the tension looks like or any of that. I don't think I'm going to have to replace the chain or anything like that, because, I mean, honestly, all this stuff is in excellent shape. It makes me kind of wonder, you know, what's really going on. Definitely makes me feel like it's some stuff deeper in the engine here, which, you know, is not awesome by any means. I don't know how to drop that chain, but we'll just start here. Get these guys off and see about the camshafts, I guess. I imagine these surfaces are torqued to a specific spec, so we'll go in a crisscross pattern across both of them here, trying to avoid screwing anything up or bending or cracking anything. Oh, that was almost bad for it. They're all the same length except for this one, which is significantly longer, and it goes right here. There we go. That's what we know. It was kind of an optical illusion, I think. Okay, that one goes here. Cool. We can remember that, surely.
One goes on the far right.
So we'll pull these guys out here. Break that one loose.
Ooh, tight.
Yeah, it is pretty tight.
Oh! This one is moved down. This one is moved down.
Of course, using something not metal to not mar these up, because these are aluminum, 100%. So that's pretty easy. EX on the left side, NI on the right side. And then I don't think there's any way these camshafts are just gonna come right out. I'm gonna have to loosen that somehow. How is another question I do not know. It's kind of bizarre, to be honest with you. I don't know what that does either. Oh, that's it right there. Yep, that's 100% it. So it is kind of like a car. This has got to be the tensioner for the timing chain. So if we bust this nut off the back of it here, the chain should lose tension. And I might be able to wiggle this out a little bit. Let me give that a shot here. All right, so we're gonna loosen this tensioner. That's 100% what this is. That's what I was using as a handle to get the bike out. And that looks exactly like the tensioner on my 4Runner, actually. I imagine they're all somewhat similar in design. It's just designed to where there's stuff on the center and it has a plunger in it that once you release, like on the 4Runner, once you release the pin, it drops the plunger and tensions the timing belt at that point. You can see it's pushing itself off the block because there's actively tension on it. So that'll be a treat to try and figure out how we go back and put that back in there at some point. A lot of Allen keys. Make sure you have a good set of those for this process. God dang. Not that this is a how-to, guys. Again, I'm not a mechanic, so, you know. Okay, it looks like there's a gasket on that one, so we'll have to replace that because it just ripped. That's okay, though. I assume that'll come in a kit if you want to. Yeah, that's going to be a disaster to work with. And there we go. Now our timing chain is loose. That goes right into there. And you can see this is the plunger I was telling you about. So with enough compressive force, that will go back down. I assume it probably has something to do with this nut on the end, is how you put tension on it. I don't know. We'll have to look into it and see what we do there. But we'll try to keep everything together best we can. And now these guys are loose. There's number one, and he was clocked kind of this way. Not that it matters, it won't matter. I'm gonna just have to put it to top dead center and go from there when I go to redo it. This guy here runs through to keep this chain from coming out on you. So we'll have to take that off to drop that chain all the way down. And then we can do 1, 2, 3, 4 head bolts on the inside. And then there's a few on the outside. Maybe it's just those 2 over there. But yeah, then we can go and take those off. And we should be able to pull the top off now. We should be able to pull that head off and see what we're looking like in there. All right, so now we're gonna take the head bolts out. This is gonna be a torque surface, so definitely be sure to, you know, go around side. So we'll go diagonally to loosen the tension this way, and then we'll loosen the tension this way so we don't risk hurting this guy. We'll also take these outside ones off real quick. We're gonna need a wrench for that. That's okay, not a big deal. Okay, so now give it some persuasion here. Throw it at myself. Slippery hands, man. Okay. That ain't it. Okay, let's try this method. Here we go. There we go, I just felt that whole head kind of de-seat. So there was quite a bit of pressure on that. Okay, cool. There's 2. These will probably be just as fun to get out. That one wasn't too bad. And I'll look up the torque specs and everything. I've got a full manual for this bike, so that's where we'll start and go to reassemble, assuming we get there. Now a bigger wrench or something for leverage would be good. Also, if I had something to actually stick this engine in, that would help. So, you know. Okay, cool. There we go. I just heard a bunch of coolant in there, I think. Something. Oh yeah. We're gonna make a mess when I separate this head. Okay. And most head bolts are not reusable. They can be. I don't know what style head bolts these are. If they are torque to yield head bolts, do not reuse them, because they have a springiness to them. So once you've got them torqued to spec, they have stretched, and they won't hold the torque spec anymore. So definitely always a good idea to replace those. I'm hoping I'm just doing a top and rebuild, because I really super duper duper do not want to get into the back of it. There's our mess happening on the floor. All the coolant coming out. It's okay. I'll keep working on those. We'll grab another 10 mil to get these 2 out, and then this top sleeve at the head, this head here should be ready to come off. I'll get something, clean up this mess, and then we'll get you pulling this off here. All right, we're just pulling the head bolts here. Check for any washers. There is washers, so that's important to note. I'm gonna try to pick those out and keep them with their head bolts, although I imagine I'm gonna have to get new ones, just honestly. So make sure we don't lose these washers. working. Okay, I'll just have to use this head screwdriver real quick.
Yeah.
Okay. There it went. Oh, where'd it go? Oh boy. Oh, that's gone forever. Okay, well, there's one somewhere. We'll have to find that here in a minute. Now we'll double check. Everything is off. It is. There's more coolant. So now we're gonna just give this thing some light taps. Rest in peace head gasket.
Rip.
Okay. Okay. This is a chain guide. That's good to know. Okay. So now we're in here. Head gasket is shredded in half. So that's cool. Or maybe it's a two-piece, I don't know. So now we're here. We can see our valves. And honestly, they're in pretty good shape. I mean, it looks like they're fully seated. Just a lot of carbon. Of course, there's coolant in the cylinder now because of those passages that I just opened up. But I mean, overall, and as far as I know, the thing never got hot too, so I'm not worried about the straightness of all this, you know, the surface. Just carbon. I mean, there's nothing super concerning here. So yeah, I mean, that's good, but also, you know, kind of lets us know that that's, you know, it's not what I thought we were dealing with here. At least in the very top end. It'd be interesting to see what the cylinder looks like. It looks like, I mean, it's holding back the coolant that's in there right now, but I mean, there's no telling, you know. So yeah, there's that. I'll set this here. Now I'm gonna go ahead and just set these guys back in their places so that I don't lose said places. And yeah, we're not gonna worry about their position or anything. Okay, so we got the head off completely in the two parts. Got that gasket off. Got the cylinder here, it's down. And it's stroke. But from what I can see, I mean, the rings are loose. So, I mean, I could, yeah, I mean, this is probably not good, right? I can take that ring off with my hand. So maybe the rings are the culprit, like I thought the whole time, because that ring is stretched out real bad. But the cross hatching on the inside of that is just, it's phenomenal, actually. And the bore there, I mean, it is phenomenal. It looks brand new. So I guess, I mean, it's possible we just wore out the rings, because I can take that one right off. Again, I'm not sure what the clearances are supposed to be on that. I should have left it in gear so that I could put a wrench on this and turn it, you know, so I could actually get the full view of the piston when it's up all the way, but I didn't. Guess I could still try to put the shift lever on it and put it in gear and then turn this bad boy and see what we see. But I mean, maybe it's just that. I mean, that's very possible if we're losing some metal off of that guy because it's just loose. And that would definitely explain why everything's getting right past the rings, because that's real loose. So I don't know. I'll do some more research and see what the clearances are supposed to be on those, how tight they're supposed to be. And then maybe that's our issue right off the bat. Then all I'm doing is putting rings in it, new gaskets on the top. I know we still have a leak coming out of it somewhere, so I got to sort that out, although it might be that front oil line because it looked pretty wet. Alrighty guys, welcome back to the process of what has now been 2.5 weeks. We are here. I was debating, you saw I pulled the engine and tore the engine apart. I was debating on making it its own episode. And then I decided, no. You know, it's hard enough to get people to watch one part of a series, you know, let alone like to keep someone on a continual series. It's almost impossible, especially when you're a smaller channel. So we're gonna do it all in one video here. I have got the engine here with me, tore down out of the bike. I went ahead and got some new piston rings, Suzuki's actual Suzuki parts there, and then this gasket kit to put the top back together. I went and also talked to those guys down at my local motorcycle store. They do Suzuki, Husqvarna, Indian, stuff like that. And I was talking to one of the guys at the counter and got some ideas on what might have actually been going on here. He seemed to think that it was as simple as a valve adjustment, which, I mean, I don't know, maybe. Again, I'm no expert when it comes to this stuff, but we're this far in, so we're gonna go ahead and get the rings off this thing, put new rings in it, start putting it back together. Then I get to learn how to adjust valves, so that'll be exciting, but I've got a manual here, and I'll work through that and figure that one out. Yeah, so I'm gonna get started. I'm gonna have to put this thing in gear because the piston's kind of in an awkward position right now. I can't access all of the rings very well, so I'll try and get it in gear so that I can spin the chain thing there. What's that? What would that be called? Like maybe the, I don't know. Well, so we can turn it over and get the piston up. Yes. So that's what we're gonna do. Hopefully. Fingers crossed there. And then I'm gonna have to learn how to put this thing back together where I can actually get it to run properly. So that'll be exciting. So I'm gonna get this thing in gear and start working on that. I don't know where I'm gonna set y'all up at. I will give it my very best to find somewhere to set y'all up at. All right, well, we're gonna jump in again. Alrighty, we're gonna get started here. I'm gonna put the shift lever back on in hopes that it gives me the leverage I need to do this without having the clutch engaged. So that'll probably work out poorly, but we'll give it a shot anyways, you know? All I need is to go down to like first gear. There we go, we're in second. This is another point in the video where I'll stop and mention something to possibly save you guys a headache if you're in the same scenario. When turning the bike over without having the cam chain tensioned, right, where it's actually wrapped around the gears of the cams and is holding tension, your cam chain is loose in the case and it can get bound up on the internal gears that it's riding on. So you have to keep tension on the cam chain in order to not bind it up in the bottom of the engine. Alrighty, well that worked. Shocker. Yeah, now I've got the actual cylinder way up here now, so I can get access to all these rings. I can also look in here a little bit better and see how things are going down in a little deeper. This is not at its peak of its stroke by any means, but I get to take a look in the engine and see what the hell is actually going on down in there. Let's do that. Let's just take a look with you. Okay. Where's the light? Okay. I get to see down in there a little bit. Looks like, I mean, there's some antifreeze down there from taking the engine apart. Where's everything else? I mean, we're being honest with ourselves. Sorry. It's not that bad in here. Maybe if we can actually see in there. No. Look down in the timing chain area. Come on, quit focusing on that. Quit it. God dang it. Anyways, everything looks pretty good in there. A little grimy maybe, but nothing's too bad. Piston's got some carbon on it, obviously. And there's the rings. We'll go ahead and snap those out and put the new ones in. That's easy enough. We'll just make sure we follow the orientation of what's here and what I have in the box. So yeah, I'll do that. That's efficient. Definitely. Joined by a brick house Madero. It's the only way. And some Coors Banquet, which is also the only way. No, I like Shinerbach too, but it's in a Coors mood, you know? What do you want? All right. Yeah, here we go. I've got some needle nose pliers. That ought to work, right? I know there's like ring stretching tools, I'm sure, and I'm sure that people are cringing that I'm using a pair of needle nose pliers to get these off, but that's what I'm gonna do. Okay, numero uno is off. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. You know what I mean? I don't know what to look for on this shit. This one's got a little lip on it, so we're gonna find the corresponding one in the box of shit. There we go. Do I apply these with oil? I don't know. Maybe I'll do that. I'll put some oil in before I put them in. You want to make sure you check the thickness, obviously. It's so crazy how, you know, the engine is, you know, it's got to have such tight clearances, right, to function. So you want to make sure you have everything right. This is the one that matches. Put the old one over here. It was ridged up. So that's the one we need. Got a little bit of oil here. This guy up. I'll try for my fingers. Oh, okay. I don't know. If it blows up when it's put together, well then, you know, you'll never see this video. So, how about that? I also need a wrap. Okay. We're gonna put number one on. I'm gonna start with the open end of the ring facing you guys. So we will alternate those, right? Because you don't want to have all your gaps aligned, because then you can, you know, you'll lose that compression through there. So that one's on. Seems to fit just as good as the other one did. So I mean, I'm sure these aren't even bad, but it's what we're doing. So here we are. Hopefully that's right, you know? Okay, let me get my other one out. Next is this thinner metal one here. They're all metal, I imagine. There's one that's a little different. It's scraggly. I don't know why, but it is, so. Come on now. Come on out of there, bud. There we go. Number two. Flat, thin metal one. helpful. Check the gappage is the same. Or I don't know what that means, but this one's 2-tone, is it? Well, those are really small. Yeah. So I'll check the gaps versus the gaps. That's what we'll do. So those have really small gaps. The top two have bigger gaps. Why that is, I don't know. If you do know information while I'm doing this, feel free to put it in the comments for those who are actually curious, you know, about what I'm doing and what it's all called actually, and why things are certain ways. I don't have the knowledge to tell you that. That's why this isn't like a how-to, just so y'all know. Don't be yelling at me. For the 9 people that watch this, don't yell at me saying, oh, you're telling people the wrong stuff, because I don't know, man. And I'm admitting that. So, there's 4, and there's 5 rings, so we're gonna go 12 o'clock, like 2, I'm gonna go probably 4, 8, and then 10, probably, is what I'll do in terms of situating it all. For the gaps, I mean, on the pistons. Okay. Yeah, these ones in there are they're gonna be really finicky. The bottom 3, oh, it's a pack. That's interesting. So there's 3 of them that are all on the same ridge, and that's where that scraggly one is at. What's the bottom one? Yeah, they have really tight. They've got a really tight clearance there. The ones on the top have a gap like that. This is the old one, so I don't care if I bend it. They have a gap like that on the top, much tighter on the bottom. Okay. Well, come on out of here now, little guy. Finding the end of this one is going to be a little tricky, it looks like. Let's push him up. Oh, here it is. Cool. If I could get the head bolts out of my way, that would make my life easier. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to get these out of my way. Just put them in so I didn't lose them. Didn't find out if these were torqued to yield or not, so we're going to reuse them. That's a bad idea. We're going to do it anyways, because, you know, that's how we do it here. The wrong way, but, so what, you know, who cares? I don't. No, not at all. Alright. And I'm still missing the washer off one of these head bolts. I'll have to find that, or find something that's comparable. I don't know where it went. It hit the floor and ran for its life. Apparently, it's gone. I mean, like, gone. You know, like your ex-wife. You know, she's gone. It's all right. We'll find another one. It's okay. All right. God, I apparently engaged every single possible thread. Yep. Jesus, come on now. I really wasn't thinking about myself. All right, there we go. Out of my way. So let's make sure that needs to stay No, that's the bottom one. That's right. Okay, cool. Need this one. We'll slide him off. Also, again, very tight clearance there. So can I show you? There we go. Very tight clearance. I got. That's one. There's another old one. There's another new one. There's the 2 new ones, and then the scraggly one, which I'm sure is important for something. There we go. So the cover's gonna be a little easier to get out. And this one doesn't have much of a clearance at all. It seems to be like almost fully connected. Once it's installed, because this one isn't as rigid, and I don't know, it's metal. I don't know if it's the way it's cut out or it's the type of metal, but once it's not around that piston, it compresses a bit more. It's kind of springy, which is almost what the design would hint at. So that one has a little bit of a gap like that when it's actually installed. But there's that scraggly one. So that goes like this. Then gapped one, scraggly one, then gapped one. They make a little sandwich like that. So yeah, that's interesting. And these were not aligned up, I don't think. I don't think these gaps were lined up, if I recall what I just did 5 seconds ago. So there we go. We're just gonna weld them up and put them on. And you know what? I hope it works. I hope it'll break. That's alright. It's good. It's a miracle that anything I own and have ever worked on actually works. It is. I'll admit it. It's pretty crazy. That excess oil off my hands. We'll start with the thin one, then we'll put the scraggly one in, and we'll put the other one in. Those top rings are way looser than the bottom ones are, which is interesting. Sure, it has something to do with the way that's designed. It's interesting. No, that's not your home. Oh god. The bottom one's decided to go to the home of the second one. That's exciting. Love that. Hey, no, y'all need to switch. Okay, you don't belong there. You have your own home. Yeah, I know. This is wild. I know. On today's episode of Engine Masters. Oh god. Yep. Absolute. Just peak mechanical know-how right here, folks. I mean, you have no idea. My clock has been fucked up too. So 12 is at 1, and 2 is at 2, and 3 is at 12, and that's fine. So the hardest part is going to make sure that you have everything in its proper spot. And that scraggly one takes up a lot of room in there. Oh, you got to put the scraggly one on first, it looks like. Yeah. Okay, that's interesting. So, I'll show you. This is going to be impossible to see. Well, maybe. Is it going to focus on it? So, I don't know if you can see. No, you can't see it. Well, take my word for it. There's a ridge on the top and the bottom where those other rings sit into on this, I think. So, this will go in last. Or first. This will go in first. The other ones will go in after. We're learning things. See? This is knowledge. Try not to bend this guy. Just get him out of the way real quick. Last thing I'd want to do is break it. Which I imagine is pretty easy to do. Because they're very thin. Okay, top one there. That one will go right there. Okay, perfect. Now we can fit this guy back in where he goes. Bottom, preferably. Yeah, there's paint marks on those. That's interesting. I wonder why that is. Probably something important. Final one. Hey. I don't know. I think we're done. Sure. Success. Probably. I don't know. Not a clue. I'm gonna roll this back down. I once again interrupt your regularly scheduled program to let you know that I am an absolute idiot. You can tell with all the knowledge that I contain inside my irregularly sized brain basket that I've definitely read the manual before doing this process. I didn't read the manual. And that led to an 1.5 hour long struggle where me and my sister, thanks to the help, attempting to unbind the chain that I had just wound up in the bottom of this engine by, quote, I'm just gonna turn it over. By doing that, I proceeded to really just screw things up. Pretty dramatically, I'm not gonna lie. It was a nightmare. And after a solid 1.5 hours, we were finally able to get the sleeve back over the piston and attached again to the main block of the engine. But to save you all that struggle, that 1.5 hours of my life that I could have done doing anything other than what I was doing and will never get back, we're gonna fast forward to where I have it put back together. And just know that if you have a manual, read the manual. Just do it. Just do it. Okay, so I started putting everything back together. So we got that seated with the rings and everything in the proper position, and we got the sleeve put back on. Was kind of a pain. I had to have my sister come help me with that one because it was gonna be impossible to get that together without a second pair of hands. So I did that. Didn't film any of it because the phone was up there in the garage and we were down here because this was a pain in the ass. That took way too long. Got it. So while we wait for patience on the engine, we're gonna take some time here, start knocking the sun fade off this. You can see it's pretty brown over here. Pretty intense, honestly. It kind of ate up the first, a little bit of top plastic there. It's what happens, when they sit in the sun. Luckily, this plastic is pretty soft. So I'm hitting it with actually a really coarse grit because it's spent a lot of time outside. And then I'm gonna work through the grits and get it smoothed out, and then just blaze over it with a torch real quick and thin that all out, and it should be shiny again, hopefully. Yeah, this is just what we're gonna do here. Make her pretty again, and then of course make her run. But what's important, Yeah, so we're just gonna do this real quick, sand her down, and then this will be nice. It's a nice little break from all that. Because let me tell you, we started doing the reading on adjusting the valves and changing the valve oil seals and everything, and holy hell, was that a nightmare. Okay, I mean, I don't have the proper tool for it first, so we kind of ghetto rigged up a tool that definitely should have taken my eye out. You saw I dropped the one valve, and then it took us like an hour to get the little retaining clips back into that valve to get that to stick together, and that took forever. So I'm out of patience. I'm not dealing with it anymore. I'm gonna sand it and make it look pretty. So that's what we're gonna do, and then we'll pick up, and I'll loop you guys back in when we have got the other 3 done, because I'm not gonna videotape any of that. Alrighty, so we're back here, and to avoid this video being a complete and utter mess, which it probably already is, I'm just gonna take a second from the chaos, because as this video is going, I'm learning how to do this all, because I've never done this before. So I figured I would take a minute, stop, explain it, because I've learned kind of what we're doing. So we're dealing with the valves here because I need to replace that guy right there. It's the oil seal for the valve. This little guy here. So in order to do that, I have to take the valve assembly apart to get to it. So this is where we're at here. This is the cylinder head, and these are the valves, right? So these are our exhaust valves. These are our intake valves. And I was told that replacing those seals is gonna be a good way to make sure that there's nothing getting into where it shouldn't be getting into if they're, in fact, bad. So we're here, we're gonna do it. I don't have a proper tool for it, so I kind of jankified one up to do it. So what I'm just gonna show y'all here is what this is. So with the valves, right, there's a couple pieces. This part up here, which I have out somewhere. I have that one somewhere. There it is. Right here, it's the valve bucket. On the inside there, that is magnetic. You can see where it sits. That is a shim. So those shims on the inside of these buckets is how you adjust the valves, which is interesting, and I had no idea that's how that worked in this case. So what you need to do in order to get proper valve adjustment, right, is before you have all this apart, check and make sure everything's in all the caps and it's all put together. Then you have your camshafts in there, which are marked IN and EX for intake and exhaust, which was useful information to know. Sorry, let me try to get this bucket on here. So once it's all together, you have that properly seated and all the buckets are fully seated, you get a tool and you measure the space between the bucket and the bottom of the cam lobe. Because if they're touching, right, then it's possible that the cam lobe is touching that bucket, therefore holding the valve open when it should be closed. So that's what you're checking for there. And over time, these clearances will decrease, right? So they get closer and closer over time as things work and wear, which is kind of counterintuitive. It feels like they probably should get further apart over time, but they actually do the opposite. So those clearances will get tighter and tighter over time until they're contacting, and at some point your valves will get hung open when they should be closed, and therefore you can leak off compression and have issues with it running properly. So that's the number one thing to check there in terms of a valve adjustment. So that's how you do that, and what you do is you measure the difference here, right? So you get a tool, you find you find where it's at in terms of millimeters, then you find what the spec's supposed to be, and then it's the difference between what you have and that's what's going to determine, the shim size on the inside of the bucket. So if you have a really big clearance, right, so there's too much space between the cam lobe and the bucket, then you would need a bigger spacer to pick the bucket up further, right, closer to the valve, or closer to the camshaft, sorry, the cam lobe. If you have an issue, which is what you'll typically see over time, where the bucket is closer to the cam lobe than it should be, then you go to a smaller shim size, and that drops the bucket further in. So you have no contact of the camshaft and the valve bucket prematurely, right? Which would mean at any point except for the pointed end of the cam lobe, which is where that should function by, opening the valve. So there we go. Semi rudimentary explanation of valve adjustments. What I'm doing right now, because honestly, all the valve clearances are actually okay. So that's not an issue. The guy I was talking to at the bike shop seemed to think that was probably my number one issue. But I can say, after looking at it, with everything assembled, they're not touching. And it's not really even close. They're not too far apart either, where I'm not getting full engagement, I don't think. It looks like it's in a good spot. So I'm just taking the buckets off, making sure you keep each bucket with its respective valve, because again, those shims are going to be different, for whenever this was set, which I imagine is factory, because, this engine only had 200 miles on it when we got it. But if you look at the shim, maybe. There we go. If you look at the shim, you see that says 230 or 290. That's a 290. So that's the shim in millimeters, I believe. So this one is shimmed out to 290. They're all gonna have different numbers, so just keep them together. And if you do need to adjust them, then you find shims. You have to buy some shims and adjust those properly within spec. And there's, if you have a manual, there's a bunch of information on, how to check all that. So yeah, anyways, I'm gonna keep doing what I'm doing here, which is using my kind of janky tool here, which is super dangerous because it has no way to really hold on to anything. Using a C-clamp, so maybe don't do that, but this is working fair enough. This is gonna apply equal pressure on the top of that valve there, which you wanna go slow and easy. What this will do is compress the valve, allowing me to, or compressing the valve spring, I should say. It's not gonna actually compress the valve's solid metal. It'll compress the springs, and that'll allow me to get the keepers out, which is this top part here. Then that allows the whole assembly to come apart up to the top, and then I can take that oil seal off the end of the valve, replace it, just popping it on, and then recompressing everything, entering the keepers, and then it's good to go. So that's what I'm doing right now. I'm gonna go ahead and do it. This one's been done already. I'll do the other three, and then put the engine back together and pick you guys up when I'm ready to, when I have it all back together and ready to time it, I guess is what I'll do. Ready? So I've got the cylinder head back on, just loosely tight. It's not torqued yet. I wanted to go ahead and get it set to top dead center before installing the cams and all that, make sure everything was going to be right where it needed to be. I wanted to give you guys the info on how to do that. It's actually pretty cool. I'm sure a lot of bikes probably function like this. I don't know. So there's this little cover here, and that's covering the crank up. And that, of course, with the T there, you can see it's been marked, which is honestly some of the things with this engine are leading me to believe that someone's been in it before, which is super weird because when we got it, it only had 200 miles on it, supposedly. So the more I dig into this, the more I kind of think maybe someone else has been in here. There's no telling. But anyways, you want to have this guy, your mark, indicating with the mark on the crank, the T, and now you know this is going to be a top dead center. That's super easy, super cool. Now I can follow the detailed instructions in the manual that's lying on the floor over there, and set the cams up properly. Of course, one is IN, one is EX, intake and exhaust, and they've got a bunch of numbers on the outside here. So I will line these up the way they're supposed to be lined up, and that will ensure that the bike is in time. So that's good. So that's what we'll do. Okay. I've got the cam set properly, still on, top dead center-ish, pretty close. I don't think that will matter, that small marginal amount. Obviously it's hard on top dead center because it wants to, it's right at the peak of its stroke, so it wants to go down or go up. It wants to do one or the other. Really, it wants to go down with, with gravity. But anyways, I've got it set, counted properly. There's supposed to be 15 studs from this arrow pointing at this stud to this arrow pointing at this stud, which there is indeed. So that's proper. I've got everything torqued down properly. Head's torqued down properly, of course. I just got the tensioner reinstalled, which is actually really interesting. So you just take a screwdriver, and then you can't probably see it in there. Maybe you can. You see that slot in there? You just put your screwdriver in the slot, and you turn that screwdriver, and that loosens, and that like brings the tensioner in. So I mean, that's way easier to work with than like a car, or my car anyways, because that timing belt tensioner on that was a pain in the ass. But that was super easy. I just pulled it back with a screwdriver, not a whole lot of force required there, and then installed it, torqued down those nuts, and let her go, and it put the tension on the chain. So we are good there. I'll get this put back on, and then tighten back up the crankshaft looky doodabber bolt hole, and then I guess put the valve cover back on it. I'm gonna put some oil in the top end here, on the chain as well. Just drizzle some oil on everything, make sure it's well lubed up for when it first starts. And then yeah, I'll start getting things put back together. Alrighty, so got the engine back in the bike. Got the bottom bolt through, and then I got this one that goes through the swing arm thing. Don't put that in backwards. Ask me how I know. I accidentally drove it this way instead of from the other side, so I couldn't get the nut on the other side, and I had to take it out, and that was a big pain in my ass. But I got it sorted, so now I'm gonna go back through. I'm gonna start connecting things. I need to go through the carburetor since I've got it off the bike, so I'll do that and make sure everything is square in the carburetor. For some reason the choke's not working, so I'll need to sort that out. But outside of that, it's a matter of just kind of putting things back where they go, getting the engine mounts back on, getting everything reconnected. So I mean, I'm not gonna bore you guys with that process. If I find something interesting in the carb that explains what's going on there, you know, I feel like it's worth talking about, I'll show you that. But if not, I'm gonna get everything put back together, reconnected, electrical connections, hoses, all that stuff. There's zero reason to show you that because I showed you taking it apart. And then I'll get a battery that works for this thing, and we'll see if she goes. Alrighty, so it's getting late now. Sun's gone down. Went ahead and closed up the garage for the night, and I'm just gonna have to call it here for tonight because I am gonna need a carb rebuild kit. Is what I'm gonna need. I told you I wouldn't bore you with putting the bike back together, and I didn't. Bike is 90% back together. I need to put the radiators on, the exhaust on. The big deal is the carburetor, right? And I want to make sure I have that in first before doing all that other stuff. Give me as much room as possible. So I was going into this, and again, I told you my brother had rebuilt it. That is evident by, you know, some of the new rubber, and everything is, you know, it looks clean on the inside. All the jets are clear. What I did find is he had misplaced a few things in his adventures in trying to repair this, which, you know, I didn't know what he had done and what he hadn't done. So that's why I'm tearing back into it. So a couple big things. This guy right here, number 31, it's gonna be right over here. The secondary pilot air jet, well, it's supposed to be right there, and it is non-existent, so that's a big deal, I'm sure. So that's not there, and then the other part is the choke no longer worked. So I went ahead and took the retaining pin off of that, and there is supposed to be a little ball bearing in that pocket in there that sits when you pull the choke out. Where's it at? There it is. When you pull the choke out, 3 positions, it will hold. Oh, come on. There you go. It'll hold based on, you know, where that ball bearing is sitting in those 3 grooves. So that ball bearing is missing as well. So there's 2 big things. I'm going to see about getting a carb rebuild kit for it and seeing if it comes with those jets, and what I can do to fix that. Alrighty, welcome back. Another week has passed. This has turned into like a month-and-a-half project. Anyways, here we are. Original carburetor off the bike. I mentioned there's a hole there that should not be there, right? That hole should not be there. There should be a jet in there. It goes to that guy. It does not exist. So I go to the parts store and try to order that jet, and guess what? It really doesn't exist because nobody makes it, nobody sells it, so you can't get it. That was awesome, right? Gotta love finding that out. So we can't get that, so I'm like, great. What am I supposed to do here? You also can't get the no, I don't even know where the hell it went. The this little check ball for the throttle, or for the choke, and you can't get that either. So that was pointless. They wanted to charge me $700 for some of the top-end components of this guy that may have contained that jet, but probably not. So I was like, absolutely not. Hopped on the internet, found this carburetor, which, if you look at them, I mean, they're identical to each other. This carburetor was $75. Is it gonna work well? I don't know. But I took the top of it off because I only bought it to see if I could switch the jet from this one to that one. But the jet is not serviceable in this one, so you can't get the jet out of it, at least not easily. So what I'm doing right now is swapping over like this electrical connection. I'm gonna take this off this end because I've got the cord, it's attached to the bike still. So I'll plug in the original connection. There's a few hoses and shit. There's a few things that I'm going to take off the old carburetor and put in this carburetor, including the jets. I'm going to take the jets out of that carb and put them into this one because I know those jets work well at my altitude with this bike. So I don't know what's in this one, so I'm not taking any chances in trying to run it with the jets that are in it. So I'm going to take the bottom of it off and switch the jets out. That way, you know, I don't have any issues there. And then other than that, everything's fresh. You know, all the gaskets are fresh. And so, I mean, we'll give it a shot. We'll plug it in and see how it works. So that's what I'm going to do right now. Get this situated, swap the jets over, and then get it installed on the bike, put the radiators back on the bike, and then the bike is pretty much ready to go. Minus a battery, which I need to get still. So, there we go. All right, I'm gonna get to it. Hello, and good afternoon, wonderful people of YouTube. If you've made it this far, I commend you, because I just did the editing for 90% of this video, and let me tell you, it'll be a miracle if I get any views, but that is okay. So, I'm here with the bike. I left off with y'all with the carburetor. So what I did with that carburetor, like I said, was swap all the jets out and everything. So I've got the new Chinese carburetor from eBay on the bike right now. And I won't lie, I forgot to record the first start. Now, I got it to start with a little bit of brake clean, which I know you're really not supposed to do, and I went easy on it. I did. I just wanted to see if I was having an issue getting stuff through the carburetor or what, because I was cranking it and nothing was happening. I wanted to make sure, you know, everything was checking out. So, a little bit of brake clean, just a little bit, and it kicked right off. It ran great. When you're cranking, it's, you know, the whoomp. So it's got really good compression. The rings helped for sure. Now, it's just a matter of fueling, I think, because it ran. So clearly, we're getting spark. It ran well. We're in time. I had the choke all the way open. It, you know, revved to the moon, as it would. We're getting all that air. Or not getting all that air. Whatever it does. It ran like you would expect with the choke open. I shut the choke. It ran. It dropped down to idle. It seemed to be idling well. And it actually ran for a little while. I was kind of shocked. I thought for sure it had to have been running on its own fuel at that point. Then I had a big old oil leak coming out the bottom of it. It was just, I mean, it was pouring oil. So I was like, shit, you know. Went ahead, turned it off. I had a coolant hose leaking as well. So I tightened the clamp on the coolant hose. That fixed that issue. And then we had an oil leak, which was not awesome. Kind of the whole issue we had in the beginning. And it was actually a super simple fix, hopefully. So I'll show you what I did, and we'll kind of go from there. Of course, the old carb I got put back together, and if I am still having issues getting it to run with the carb that I have on it now, I will swap everything over from the old carb that I can onto the new carb, all the internals and everything. So the issue was, I tried to swap this throttle position sensor. It has a different end going into the throttle blade assembly than the new carburetor does, so I couldn't just swap the wires, unfortunately. So if I have to, I'll deconstruct both carburetors all the way and then build one up that is hopefully mostly old parts, and maybe it'll work better. So anyways, though, I'll show you with that oil leak. So I had one of these hoses leaking coolant, which, of course, I got to get the bike warm to get some coolant flowing through it and get both rads filled. And then this guy down here, this main, I think it's a return line, and it goes up over and into the frame on this side. Of course, the oil, like I said earlier, runs through the frame. So it goes down through the frame, through this hose down here, I think, into here, which this might be leaking a little bit too, if I'm being honest. I think it's probably a light seeping, if anything, and I am gonna go ahead and tighten up that clamp to ensure that that's not letting anything past. This head isn't leaking, and I don't think it's leaking directly around the fitting. So there's no issue there. Really, it was this guy that was leaking. So I imagine, because I took this apart forever ago, I bet I misplaced an O-ring or something that went in there. So it's not sitting, you know, it's not sealed properly. So I went ahead and looked through all my spare parts and the kit I got and everything like that to see if I had an O-ring that would fit the inside of this. And I didn't have anything. So then I went ahead and looked for a washer and I didn't have anything. So I took a risk, and it may not pan out. We're gonna find out pretty quick. And I did a decent bead of oil-resistant RTV around this guy here, and I seated it in. It's been sitting for 24 hours, and hopefully that'll hold when under pressure. And if it won't, then it won't. And we'll know. Then I'll have to source the proper parts for it. But that being said, I've got a battery that doesn't fit, but it'll work. I'm gonna get it plugged in, hit it with a little bit of brake clean. I'm gonna try to get the tank back on it because I took the tank off because I was having issues with the carb. Made sure everything was seated on both ends. It is. The choke functions properly, all three positions. This is kind of cheap, so that pops right off, which is kind of annoying, but it works. So I'll choke it halfway, put the fuel on. I took this off. I blew some air through the carb to make sure I had fuel in the bowl, because I tried to get this screw off and this thing is so cheap. That screw just annihilated itself, so I couldn't test it that way. So I just blew a little bit of air through it, not super heavy to not blow out any of the seals or anything. And I got fuel in there. So I'm just gonna try and, I don't know, kickstart it. Hopefully, you know, I don't have a Kickstarter. I mean, kickstart it with some brake clean, just a little bit, get it running, hopefully get some air through the carb and get some things going, get it warmed up, hopefully nothing leaks, and I mean, hopefully we're good, you know. I don't know, I messed around a little bit with the idle, how wide those blades are open to idle, and, you know, hopefully everything kind of works out and I can tune it. But I gotta have it running to get it there, so we're gonna see how it goes. I'll get it plugged in and we'll give it a shot. Okay, hopefully that'll stay put. So I'm gonna crank it first before I hit it with the go juice and see if I can't get it to go on its own. You know, before I get too dramatic here, I'll get on this side so y'all can see. All right. On, nothing. I think we're getting fuel at that point to the carb. On full blast. Okay. Find out. This is been working on half choke. Okay. Here we go. With some go juice, not too much. Too much, hopefully. Okay. On. Apparently not enough. Just hoping maybe if I can get her warm. or something, she'll just pop off. She did. She ran good. I'm not gonna lie. Way too much. Let's go. I know you want to live. That was definitely not all brake clean. So I got it popping off. It's smoking a little bit from the stuff I spilt on the exhaust yesterday. We're not leaking oil. Success. She's warming up. Definitely it was giving me some throttle response there. Well, it wasn't necessarily super happy. I almost wonder if I just close her off. You know, or do I open her all the way up and let it try to idle for a bit? Yeah, just the exhaust smoking a little bit. Big deal there. Let me try and close her up a bit, because I opened it up quite a bit yesterday. So let me back it off. See if that does anything for us. Lock her up all the way. Trying to kill the battery. Let me try and close this up a little bit. Bring that idle down a bit. Maybe. I think it's just something that the carb needs dialed in, you know? Of course, it's cheap Chinese carb too, so I mean, there's no telling the quality of it. Of course, it's a pain in the ass to access anything. Choke is all the way open. Maybe I go the other way. I don't know. I'll just fiddle fuck with it. Stuff's really hard to film. I just had it running like really good there for a minute. Then it kind of went whoop, and it kind of backfired on me a little bit, I think. So I was kind of fiddling around with the carb, and what I think part of my issue was, I had the adjuster out, in too far, so the blades were open too much. That, in combination with this air boot, I don't think it was fully seated on the other side of the carb, and I think that was allowing lots of excess air to come in there and not letting it run, right? Because it couldn't keep up with the amount of air that it had coming in there. So I think that might be our issue. I killed the battery, so I got it charging, and then we'll test and see how my tuning abilities worked. But it was running on gas. I didn't brake clean at that time. It was running great on gas. I could get it to rev, and it was idling. But I think it was just getting too much air. So I made sure I loosened this on this end and kind of clocked it a little bit, and I heard it pop onto the other side, and I can feel it now. So it's fully seated front and back. I hadn't adjusted the idle screw there to where it looks like it was sitting most of its life on the old carb, because that is the adjuster screw from the old carburetor. So once I get the battery charged, I'll test that out. I've actually had to put some more coolant in it as well. So it's actually beginning to circulate coolant as well. So things are looking up. I gotta wait for the battery to charge. Unfortunately, that'll be a while. And then we can give it another shot. And you know, maybe at the end of the day here, I'm putting this thing around the street. This thing is way louder than I remember it being. Okay, I got a battery that fits, and I think I've got it sorted. So we're gonna go ahead and flip her on. And, you know, we're gonna hope and pray that this actually works for us. I don't know. Just like that. Oh yeah, that's it. And maybe a little tuning yet. I'm gonna try and put around for a minute and see if it's shifting and everything like that and how it's acting. See if it leaks anywhere. We'll see how it goes. Finally, hopefully I don't have windies all over my face. We did it. We did it. Oh my God, we did it. Let me tell you something, that thing is a blast, by the way, just as much as I remember it. Really responsive. I think I've got that carb just about where I'd like it. It doesn't have back brakes, so I'll need to sort that out, because obviously the back brake is the most important when you're riding. You know, you want to stop your tire that has all the momentum. So I'm gonna need to sort that out before I really ride it. But for a little putt around the neighborhood real quick, did great. It did great. Shifted into all the gears really nice. Clutch is working good. Front brake works good, so there's that. I don't know what happened to the back one, but oh man, let me tell you guys, I've been looking forward to this for a long time. I love riding. It's a passion of mine, and to not be able to do it just sucks, you know. When sorry, I'm like totally out of breath here. I'm so excited. When you ride, you know the feeling, you know, when you don't get to do it, and how you and the machine become, you know, like one unit, and you get to, you know, just tear it. And you know the bike will get you anywhere, you'll get it, and you keep each other safe, and that's how that works, right? And you miss that when you don't get to do it. So let me tell you, when I say I'm excited, I mean I can't even put it into words that I'm excited I get back and do this, and in such a special bike to me and to my family. It has been fantastic getting to do this. Bit of a pain in the ass here and there, but so far it's running great. I'm gonna figure out the back brake. Hopefully that carb keeps humming. If anything else comes up with it and I feel it's important, I'll make a video on it, but it's there. It runs. It drives. It goes. Oh man, I'm so excited about that. Well, I think that's gonna do it before I, you know, get too much more excited and waste too much more of your guys' time. I do appreciate you guys watching this video. I do hope you watched all the way through. If you did and you enjoyed it, be sure to like, subscribe, share it, comment, whatever you can do. I'm a small channel trying to grow, and I hope, you know, that we get there. And you know, little projects like this keep me, you know, wanting to pursue it still. So thanks again, and it's Trey, We Don't Know Cars, signing off. See you guys in the next one. I'm quite sure y'all didn't miss this in the background. Just gonna go right here. It's because of this man right here, you know, runs this channel, that you know, really made me get into doing this kind of stuff with bikes, with cars. And this is a thank you to him. Every time I'm riding, it's gonna be right there reminding me that I can do this, and all it takes is just having some effort and learning as you go to figure it out. So thank you, Kevin. I'm gonna get this on here and Come on now. Do I need to pull you out? I can. I'm a mechanic.